We're going to get started in a couple minutes. We're calling members as we speak. Well, we're going to go ahead and start as a subcommittee. And Mr. Nava, I guess you're first up.
Yep, you can do it.
If you don't mind. And we'll call a quorum. I'll interrupt you when we have a quorum. And
okay.
If not, we'll take your testimony and keep going. Tell us about your resolution.
Non-controversial resolution I'm happy to present. ACR 138 has to do with community college part-time faculty. In 2008, 18,200 members of the California Community College teaching faculty were full-time. There were 45,257 who were classified as temporary or part-time. Several studies have found that districts pay temporary faculty significantly less than full-time faculty performing the same duties. Those same studies show that nearly half of California's part-time faculty report they are not receiving any type of benefits from their community college district. This committee and other institutions and policy organizations have repeatedly recognized that full-time faculty on our community college campuses are a benefit to students with their accessibility and enhanced teaching expertise. As you know, the California Community College Board of Governors has a long-standing policy that at least 75% of the hours of credit instruction on our campuses should be taught by full-time instructors. For the past 20 years, this legislature has struggled to determine how to best help the community colleges reach this goal. With our unemployment rate above 12% and our institutions of higher education bearing the brunt of those seeking retraining for the 21st century economy, it is now more than ever critical that this committee and the legislature issue some guidance to both the Board of Governors and to our state's part-time faculty on this matter. Consequently, ACR 138 makes a number of findings pertaining to the increased reliance on part-time faculty in California. It encourages the California Community College to develop and adopt plans to meet their 75% faculty goal, resolves that each district should determine a minimum salary goal for part-time and temporary faculty that is prorated to the salaries of full-time tenured track faculty with comparable qualifications that do comparable work. Finds that part-time faculty that teach at least 40% of the number of hours per week of full-time faculty should be eligible for comparable health care benefits, and consistent with Assembly Bill 1809, which I have jointly authored with Assemblymember Fong, resolves that each district should establish a process for part-time faculty to receive preferential notice of full-time teaching assignments after a probationary period and subject to the local collective bargaining processes. The status quo severely limits the ability of our outstanding higher education systems to provide high-quality education, research, and support for academic development. With this in mind, I ask for your support for ACR 138, and we have witnesses in support.
If your two witnesses could be 2 minutes each, that would be great.
Mr. Portantino and members, Judy Michaels, California Federation of Teachers, and we are the sponsors of the bill. I think that Mr. Nava explained the purpose very well. There are part-timers in the audience who may wish to come up and just identify their names and their colleges, so I'll cede some of my time to them.
Mr. Chair, Tony Triguero on behalf of the California Teachers Association and the Community College Association. We, along with the Federation, have authored a number of bills over the last 15 years to address this problem. We believe it will offer to everyone a certain amount of transparency and accountability with regard to hires and who's teaching our children. We are processing a support position on March 26th, and we encourage your aye vote. Thank you.
And Ms. Michaels, if you want to have more time, I'm going to let everybody come up and line up and do their Me Too, so don't
stop. Restrain myself. I think this has been.
Let's not go that far.
Well, all right.
I know you.
Let me see. Yes, I can talk for some time. I think this has been a knotty problem it's naughty, but it's also naughty because as colleges cut back, there's a natural tendency to want to balance the budget on the backs of people who are lower wage or who will work for a lower wage or have a temporary status. Some people that are teaching, faculty who teach part-time, have been caught in the conundrum for years on the hopes of the elusive full-time job. But it's not only from an employee rights standpoint. It also has to do with students and their right to have a teacher who is there, who is paid for office hours. Part-timers need to be treated fairly. The teachers need to be around so that when it comes time for that student to transfer and they need a letter of recommendation, or if they're in a certificate program and they need to get a faculty recommendation for employment, that person is there. So that is the reason for this resolution. We recognize that we have 72 employers in this district, not a single salary schedule, so this resolution is a way to put them on notice that the legislature wants this done.
Thank you. Are there any other folks who would like to come line up at that microphone on the corner and tell us who you are and that you support it and sort of say, me too?
Hi, Deborah Shanks. I'm a 25-year part-timer at Diablo Valley College in the Contra Costa County, and I represent the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges, and I rise in support of the resolution and these ideals to better attract and maintain many part-time faculty, many of whom teach our career technical courses.
Good afternoon. My name is Cornelia Alzheimer. I teach accounting at Santa Barbara City College, and I'm representing the California Community College Independents, also known as CCCI. I'm in strong support of this resolution because California students deserve the best teachers, and the best teachers need to be compensated fairly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Martin. I'm the chair of the California Part-Time Faculty Association. I also serve on the board for CCA, and I teach at 2 different campuses, and I've been doing it for the last 12 years, and I support this resolution. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Keenan, and I teach political science at Cañada College, College of San Mateo, and City College of San Francisco, and I encourage your aye vote on this piece of legislation.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Sneed. I teach English part-time and have done so for the last 7 years at Cosumnes River College, just south of, on the southern edge of South Sacramento. And I strongly urge your aye vote. I'm sure that you've all heard this adage many times that teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions. And I would extend that to suggest to you that high turnover rates among faculty at the community colleges those are in no one's interests, most notably not in the students' interests. Thank you.
Hello, Andre Sims. I'm a part-time faculty at Sierra College in Rockland, California, and Nevada City, 11 years. I serve on the board of the California Part-Time Teachers Faculty Association and the Community College Association, and I highly support this resolution. Thank you. Tongue-tied.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorraine Prinsky. I'm a trustee of the Coast Community College District. I'm also a 38-year faculty member at Cal State University Fullerton. We have in our community college system many departments without any full-time faculty members. You cannot have quality education. You know, if you know, you've got faculty who are on the road all the time and unable to be there to answer questions and guide students. Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to get up in opposition? Seeing no opposition, are there any questions for the author or sponsor? Mr. Block?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask a couple of questions about resolved paragraphs. On the paragraph about, first of all, let me just say, I strongly support the needs of part-time adjunct faculty at the community colleges. Last year carried a bill that now allows part-time faculty to qualify for state disability insurance. Strongly support 75-25 rule because I believe that we do need to fairly compensate and fairly employ faculty at community colleges. I do have a concern about this bill in a couple of areas. Number one, the comparable pay I believe in very much, but where we talk about doing comparable pay for comparable work, having been a board member, I know that community college job descriptions for full-time faculty and adjunct faculty are different in that full-time faculty are expected to maintain office hours, part-time faculty are not necessarily expected to. Full-time faculty are expected to participate in committees and other departmental activities. Part-time faculty are not necessarily. So while I appreciate what this is trying to accomplish, I think it leaves too much wiggle room for districts to say they're not doing comparable work because they're not comparable job descriptions, and would like you to react to that. And then I've got one other one.
Thank you, Mr. Block. I think that comparable pay for comparable work has been part of the milieu in the community colleges for some time. It's not an insurmountable problem. Districts do need to come to terms with this when they do faculty loads. Community colleges actually are one of the few institutions that distinguish between lab classes and lecture classes. So somehow they get to a comparability even for full-time faculty. For part-time faculty, we put through this legislature compensation that for office hours to encourage districts. So there's a state matching fund that will say, listen, students should not be discriminated against because they happen to enroll in a class taught by a part-time faculty. So that's been addressed. Not, as you indicate, not all colleges do it, but I think there certainly is a way for districts. It's not beyond the capabilities of the academic senate, faculty service areas, and other mechanisms to address that comparable workload.
And then the second question, which is one that concerns me the most, the requirement, I guess, in one of the resolve clauses that if you're a 40% contract, you then would be eligible for health care benefits, same as a full-time faculty member. I think that's great. I truly do. My concern is that there are boards among the 72 districts that will then take faculty members, adjunct faculty who are now working, say 50%, and reduce their contracts to 33% to avoid having to pay them benefits. That's a bad thing, but that's something that's going to happen if, in my opinion, if a resolution like this becomes law.
Well, just to respond, that threshold is very common throughout the state. We haven't found districts loading beneath that threshold. When we created those line items in the state budget, which are, again, a matching fund, that was created through legislation, I want to say in the 90s, to kind of put at least a floor. And one of the things that the health benefit statute has right now is that they cannot receive benefits from any other source. That knocks out any number of folks who may teach in high school during the day, who may be a realtor, who may have health benefits through a spouse. So it's a very small fund, and it's protection that I think, as you indicated, they need if they don't have benefits from another source.
So you don't envision some districts then cutting contracts from 50% to 33% to avoid paying health benefits?
Well, I'd have to have a crystal ball to do that, because
Is that
it
a
would
concern
mean
you would
it would
have?
mean that they would have everybody would only teach one class, so it'd be very difficult to staff the college that way.
Well,
I think
I've got to say, I don't think they're having difficulty staffing right now because there are so many people, unfortunately, out of work. I just don't want to vote for something that's going to mean a person who's now teaching two 50% loads and flying between two campuses now has to teach three 33% loads and fly between three campuses because the college wants to get around this particular legislation. So that's a concern. I'm just expressing.
Okay.
Any other questions for the author or sponsor? Mr. Cook, Ms. Ma? Seeing no questions, we're still a subcommittee. The one thing that I would say is I don't think there's anybody who disagrees with the idea that the student is better served when there are, full-time presence on campus and people who are, fully established at a particular campus. obviously it comes down to funding. I mean, we as a state have to do better to help fund our community colleges. So, I certainly support the goal behind the resolution and the intellectual aspect of what you're trying to do. But obviously, so much of it rests on us to fully fund you. So, I do see. Hold on one second. Oh, so we're going to go ahead and, Mr. Cook. Can I do the quorum first? Okay, we're going to do a quorum.
Portantino.
I'm here.
Portantino here. Black.
Here.
Black here. Cook.
Here.
Cook here. Fong. Galgiani. Huber. Ma. Ma here. Ruskin. Ruskin here.
Okay, we have a quorum, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And Mr. Cook, you have a question?
Yeah. I've been going back and forth. I think we're all are with a number of committees today, and it's going to be a little tough. But I feel like I'm caught between a rock and a hard place because I've been full-time faculty and part-time faculty. And this is very, very difficult. And tenure track and been down this road. The one question, and I probably had a different perspective on this bill when I was part-time faculty than when I became full-time faculty. And the question I'm going to address is all those other collateral duties that, and I might have missed this, and I apologize if this was already covered in this way. The collateral duties in terms of the different committees that you have to sit on, the curriculum committees, the accreditation committees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as well as the office hours, which I think vary from district to district on what you have to put in as a full-time faculty member. And this has been kind of the, if there's any big divide sometimes between part-time and full-time, it's this, okay, this extra workload, which there have been cutbacks. There's more and more and more. And as you're teaching 5 or 6 different courses and you're trying to develop your own lesson plans and your schedule and everything else, time is a big factor in this. So if you could address that. Does that have any impact on that in terms of committees or what have you? Or
I'm not quite sure what the question was. Are you saying that a full-time,
yeah, we're talking about comparable benefits and pay.
Okay.
And I'm kind of address the downside or the other side of it, and that is also the other things, which obviously is a big load for the full-time faculty.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I haven't, how long have I been up here now? 3.5 years. So that was the last time I taught, but that was a big variable that impacted on us on full-time. So
I think it can be, and I think it is negotiable on at the district level on what exactly the duties are. Now, full-timers and part-timers have common duties, and they all have to prepare curriculum materials. They don't necessarily serve on curriculum committees if they're part-time, but they certainly have to be responsible to know the curriculum, to research it, to prepare for their classes, grade the students, meet with the students, which has been a very serious problem in California because faculty, maybe even when you were teaching part-time, Mr. Cook, was part-time faculty weren't even required to have office hours, and so we tried to get a little money to encourage them. And in fact, they were meeting with their students. They were just meeting in their parking lot, or they were just meeting in the cafeteria, because you can't be a responsible professional without doing that. So this recognizes that there are comparable duties, and the idea of serving on committees is a little bit outside the bill.
Just quickly, the equal pay for equal work, that doesn't mean that the part-time faculty member would be making per hour what a full-time faculty member would be making. It's locally negotiated, and they take into consideration the amount. So I would say that just anecdotally, Most districts who have a definition of parity, it's around 65% of a full-timer's salary, because that, or the full-timer's load. So that's what they determine it at. So it's not going to be 100%. It is going to take in at the local level what they've determined a part-timer does on par with a full-time faculty as far as load and teaching. So it's not what you're considering to be 100%.
Can I add some?
Hold on one second. Hold on. Identify yourself.
Andrea York on behalf of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges.
Okay. And you want to take a stab
Yes,
at
I just wanted to add one thing. An interesting approach that a district south of us, Los Angeles Community College District, has taken to this is that the union negotiates for both full and part-time faculty around parity issues, and they've decided, well, we don't have to define it at 65% or 82% or 100% because we know we're not there. We're going to approach parity, and when we get a little closer to it, then we'll figure out that percentage. Because one thing we don't want to do is try to compartmentalize the intellectual endeavor of teaching and learning to such an extent that it becomes unworkable.
Okay, any other questions? The recommendation is to do pass, though I think there's been a couple concerns, and you might want to look at the language if this moves on. And do you want to close?
Yep, thank you. I also know that there are some members that have some reservations about language on page 2, lines 10 through 17. And just let me make this representation that I'll be working with the next committee to resolve those issues so that people are more comfortable.
George and I vote?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you want to, do you have suggested language that you are okay with?
Not yet. I just learned that there were some reservations about 20 minutes ago.
Okay. I just don't know if you want to put it over to the next meeting or you want to go. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye. Block.
Aye.
Block, aye. Cook. Cook not voting. Fong. Galgiani. Galgiani not voting. Huber. Ma. Aye. Ruskin.
It's on call. It's too short.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Amiano.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Come tell us about AB 1691.
It may be deja vu to you, Mr. Chair, since I know you introduced a very, very similar bill.
Boy, and isn't this a good bill?
Yes, isn't it? It is. And no cussing. You know you're going to live with that for a long time. I know. Thank you for the opportunity to present AB 1691. As a matter of housekeeping, let me begin by accepting the amendment recommended by the committee that would clarify representatives of ex officio members would not be able to attend closed sessions. This bill is similar to a measure that I introduced last legislative session, AB 690, which passed through this committee. When the UC and CSU systems were created, oversight of these important institutions were guaranteed by ensuring that both CSU Board of Trustees and UC Board of Regents have elected officials serving as ex officio members. For many years, ex officio board members have been able to attend many of the meetings. Unfortunately, with increasingly complex schedule, the recent crisis faced by California, including states' budget shortfalls, it's become nearly impossible for ex officio members to make both of the board's respective meetings. In addition, the CSU and UC have at times conducted their respective meetings on the same days at opposite ends of the state. To help ensure that oversight of these institutions is preserved, AB 1691 offers a simple and practical solution. It requires that the CSU Board of Trustees and requests that the UC Board of Regents will allow ex officio members of these governing boards to delegate a representative in the same elected body to attend meetings in their absence. Designees would not be granted the authority to vote. They would only serve as the eyes and ears of the ex officio and provide insight to these two governing bodies. This simple and practical solution will ensure continuous participation by the ex officio officers or their delegates. By doing this, we ensure that there is proper oversight of these institutions and will further better understandings and communication between our education institutions, the legislature, and the executive branch. And here with me to testify on behalf of this bill is Ali Cooper with AFSCME Local 3299.
Mr. Cooper, since you're the only witness I see, if you could have 3 minutes or less, that'd be great.
Mr. Chairman, I think this may take about 5 seconds. I'm sure you do, Mr. Chairman. We certainly support this bill. It resolves what we believe to be a fairly simple conflict. Having our ex officios designate an appointee to sit in these meetings to help with oversight and transparency and accountability within these institutions is a top priority for AFSCME, and so we rise in support.
Thank you. Is there anyone else out there who would like to testify in support? Is there anyone out there who would like to testify in opposition? Please come up. Since there's two of you, if you could have 2 minutes each, that would be great.
Mr. Chair and members, Karen French on behalf of the University of California, and I'll be very brief. We appreciate the amendment that the author took to resolve one of the concerns that we had raised in our letter in opposition. We remain opposed at this time. We believe that UC and CSU have taken a number of steps over the years to eliminate conflicts between the two board meetings. In fact, this month is an illustration of that. CSU trustees are meeting this week, and UC Board of Regents will be meeting next week. We also felt it important to inform you, and it's noted in your analysis, that the Constitution specifies the ex officio members, and we've been advised by counsel that the ex officios, because of that constitutional designation, would be unable to comply with the bill. Thank you.
Andrew Martinez, California State University. We are opposed as well to this measure. We don't think the measure is necessary, and we believe that if this measure were to be enacted, we would probably never see members of the constitutional officers or honor board ever again. Thank you.
I would think that would make you want to support it.
Yeah. Also a little insulting.
Anyone else in opposition? Seeing no other opposition, are there any questions for the author or the sponsor?
Move the bill.
We have a motion and a second. I'll just make a comment. Do we have a second? We have a second, Ms. Ma. You know, we have tough times, obviously, and everyone supports higher education. But part of the challenge is having accountability, having transparency, having oversight. And one of the reasons why I applaud the author for being diligent in bringing this forward again is those are bipartisan, common sense things to do. And a bill like this that creates a greater conduit to the constitutional officers, to the legislature, through allowing ex officio members to have designees, that allowing people to have a full-time opportunity to provide that important role of oversight and conduit, I just think makes sense. And I think the segments would do themselves a favor to embrace it versus opposing it year after year. So with that, Mr. Amiano, you have my full support on this if you'd like to make a closing comment.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I just respectfully ask for an aye vote. I do think this is a common sense measure.
Okay, we'll call the roll.
Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye. Block.
Aye.
Block, aye. Cook. Fong. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Huber. Ma. Ma, aye. Ruskin.
It's on call. You're 1 vote short.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Knight, come talk to us. AB 1703. Sorry we didn't get together yesterday. We were trying to...
That's okay.
But you're here.
I am right in front of you. Well, Mr. Chair, thank you for having us here today. We have Assembly Bill 1703. It's a very no-nonsense, straightforward bill we should all love. We do have proposed amendments. This would provide an additional $5,000 loan assumption per year over the course of 4 years for nurses who serve in qualified veterans homes. This would then allow a total of $10,000 total over the 4 years, capping the program at $40,000 for participants working in the veterans home. In addition, this bill also corrects what we think is an inadvertent oversight in the code section. It would allow those who are called up to military active duty service as an allowable reason for an extended leave of absence under all of the SNAPL programs. I believe that this program is essential to repaying our veterans for their service to our country and allow students the unique opportunity to utilize their nursing skills while also having the benefit of paying off nearly all of their college loans. As the SNAPL NSF program is fairly new, it is underutilized. We hope, along with the California Student Aid Commission, that the increased funding will provide an incentive for more students to apply for SNAPL. Our office is also dedicated to getting the word out about this program, and it hopes that with monetary incentives combined with the public awareness that this program will see success. Basically, the program is in place today. It is capped at $5,000 per year. We would like to increase that to $10,000 per year. We would like to give an incentive for our nurses to go into the veterans homes. Right now, I just toured another veterans home 3 days ago in Barstow. A lot of the nurses are going to private institutions. They're going to hospitals that pay a little bit more. Possibly this would give them the incentive to work with our veterans in our veterans homes, give back to the community in such a way, and get their loans repaid for a skill that's vitally needed in our state. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. And you have two witnesses. If it could be 2 minutes each, that'd be great.
I have one witness.
Then you can have 3 minutes.
Hello, Chair Portantino. Thank you. And members, Lori Najera from the California Student Aid Commission. And we would like to thank the author for introducing this bill to increase the loan assumption benefits for clinical registered nurses employed by qualified veterans homes. And for taking the amendment which allows for the increased incentive but retains the cap on duration. Therefore, the Commission is pleased to support this amended bill. We believe that the bill in the amended form will provide the greatest benefit to the recipients, whose loans will be paid off in a shorter time period, accruing less interest over the duration of the payoff. Plus, it will reduce workload burden for the Commission at a time when our reduced budget can ill afford the strain. Furthermore, anecdotal evidence that Commission staff has gleaned from disqualified or withdrawn recipients of this program supports the consultant's analysis that the incentive is currently too low to attract nurses in large enough numbers to utilize the 100 authorized awards. Many of these qualified state facilities are in rural locations, and SNAPL participants must be willing to relocate, which can be burdensome or costly for them. Increasing the incentive might increase the utilization of the authorized awards. And the Commission also would like to thank the author for including the military active duty status as an allowable reason for the leave of absence, correcting, as he said, that oversight in law, and making this loan assumption program consistent with other programs the Commission administers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in support? You can come up here or there, wherever you're comfortable. You're in uniform.
My name is Nick Skreka. I'm a cadet at the California Maritime Academy and a board member of the California State Student Association. On behalf of the California State Student Association and the associations of the California Maritime Academy, we'd like to show our support for this bill. As a cadet at the Maritime Academy, we have a large number of veterans there, and we believe this is an important bill, and we'd like to offer our support again and urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Anybody in opposition? See that? No one dares oppose this. Any questions for Mr. Knight or his witnesses? Mr. Blott.
Yeah, I just want to say I think it's a great bill on a number of levels in terms of the need for nurses, in terms of cost of training. We're not the Appropriations Committee, so the means of funding this is not up to us. I think it's policy. It's great. I hope that Mr. Knight and colleagues in your caucus will support looking for revenue streams to make these kind of great bills a reality. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Block. Any other questions or comments? As the son of a father who was wounded in World War II and spent time in a hospital, I applaud the effort. I do echo the sentiment of, obviously, we want to make sure good ideas are well funded and properly implemented, so I applaud you for this. The recommendation is do pass to appropriations as amended, and thank you for taking the amendment. So if someone would make the motion as amended, right? Is there a second on my left? Ms. Ma seconds to pass as amended to appropriations. Please call the roll.
Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye. Block. Block, aye. Cook. Fong. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Huber. Ma. Aye. Ruskin.
It's on call.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Furtani, are you here? Or Mr. Fong? Oop. This is the committee where it all happens.
Right outside, right.
Maybe tomorrow.
Mr. Fong, you beat Mr. Furtani, so we're going to take you.
Okay.
Oh, you did beat him in. Warren, is it all right? We got Mr. Fong beat you in. All right, he'll be quick. Mr. Fong, AB 1761.
Okay, Mr. Chair and members, AB 1761 expands access to higher education and allows low-income students to attend college of their choice. Specifically, AB 1761 gives Cal Grant B recipients financial assistance to pay for tuition and fees for all 4 years of college. AB 1761 is needed because currently 98% of Cal Grant B recipients are not able to use their award money to pay for tuition during their first year of college, which is typically the largest hurdle in attending college for many students. When the Cal Grant B program was created, legislators at that time were under the mistaken belief that low-income students could not or should not directly enroll in a four-year college or university. California has made great strides in all areas of civil justice since the 1960s, and this notion is no longer widely held. However, without alterations to the Cal Grant B program, many deserving students would not be able to attend the college of their choice. In a period of economic downturn, expanding opportunities to attend college is even more important. To rebuild our economy, to grow, to compete nationally and globally, California needs a highly skilled workforce that can drive economic recovery and increase productivity. AB 1761 eliminates the current restrictions on Cal Grant B awards and allows first-year students increased opportunity to obtain a post-secondary education. I respectfully request your aye vote.
Great. I see you have 3 witnesses, so if you could each be 2 minutes each, that would be great.
Good afternoon again. Lori Najura from the Student Aid Commission. And the consultant's analysis and the author's statement do a wonderful job describing the 2 inequities I was intending to highlight today. First, with the increases in fees at UC and tuition so high at the private universities, the Cal Grant A, with its 4 years of tuition or fee benefits, now pays out more over the duration of the award than the Cal Grant B, which only pays out 4 years of the 1551 Access Grant and then 3 subsequent years of the tuition or fees benefit. Yet the Cal Grant B remains the award with the lowest income and asset ceilings, and therefore goes to the students who have the greatest need. That is an inequity. Secondly, many decades ago, it was assumed that low-income students would begin their higher education in community college. So only the top 2% of Cal Grant B awards were authorized to pay tuition or fee for those few students who would be enabled to go to four-year institutions. This practice is no longer the norm, and the Commission does not support this policy, nor do I think any of the segments of higher education. The Commission supports choice of institution for all students. If students have worked hard in high school and met the entrance requirements for their California higher education institution of choice, then we do not believe that they should be penalized with a lower grant amount just because of their socioeconomic status. In addition, I would like to mention that the Commission's Grant Advisory Committee, made up of representatives from each of the higher education segments, high school counselors, CPEC, and the state's 2 financial aid administrator organizations, has consistently recommended to the Commission to seek expanded benefits for Cal Grant B first-year students. We hope you also will support low-income Cal Grant students with a vote of aye for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Ogodelia Ramirez. I'm with the California State Student Association. We represent approximately 450,000 students in the California State University system, although that number may be lower soon, unfortunately. We're proud to team up with CSAC, the California Student Aid Commission, to co-sponsor AB 1761 to ensure that our state financial aid program is fair and equitable for all financially needy students. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the overall value of higher education to California, and you have a fact sheet in front of you that speaks to that. We believe that AB 1761 exemplifies the type of investment needed to make college education accessible to more Californians and revitalize the success of of California's economy. You all know that deep cuts to higher education has caused student fees to not only increase but has made them unpredictable for students. The PPIC recently, I'm sure you're all familiar with the report that has found California needs more than 1 million new college-educated workers by 2010 to protect the state economy from decline. The CSU provides higher education opportunity to access to low-income and middle-class residents of California and attaining well-paying jobs and earning a BA degree, and graduates approximately 90,000 people each year. These graduates are our nurses, teachers, farmers, engineers, law enforcement officials, and business professionals. We urge you to take this opportunity to invest in California's future by supporting AB 1761.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Diana Heredia, and I'm a student body president at CSU Stanislaus. My major is business, and I'm here to illustrate the importance of expanding Cal Grant B for the first-year recipients. I would like to share with you Bridget Dewson's story. She's currently taking her midterm at Sonoma State and is unable to be here in person. She's asked me to tell her story on her behalf. Bridget Dewson is a Cal Grant B recipient and writes, coming in as a first-generation born college student and American, my funds for college were very limited. I received the Cal Grant B award and scholarships, but it still was not enough to cover all costs, which are not accounted into the overall cost of attendance. During my freshman year at Sonoma State, I had to take out a loan through Chase Bank with high interest rate, which accumulates interest throughout my college years, at which I currently owe $6,820 in interest alone. I should be graduating this year, but with budget cuts, I was unable to receive all of the classes I need, therefore furthering the cost of my education in regards of time, finances, and interest. The Cal Grant expansion would have helped the cost of my college education during my first year and could have cut the cost of my loan in almost half, and my debt would be not as high. I am also a student and single mother of 4, who without Cal Grant B and financial aid would be unable to access and succeed at the university. I am proud to say that I will be graduating this spring. Thank you for investing in my future and for listening at a time when student fees are skyrocketing, when we urge you to consider expanding Cal Grant B awards to cover the cost of tuition.
Thank you. I'm glad I gave her time to speak. Is there anyone else who would like to get up and say who you are and then only me too?
Mr. Chairman, Bonnie Slauson, representing the Chief Executive Officers of the California Community Colleges, and I'm here to express support for 1761. I think the students have so eloquently expressed why it's needed.
Erica Romero with the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, me too.
Andrew Martinez, California State University in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Portantino. Lisa Douglas with AICCU, the Independent Colleges and Universities. We are in full support, and we urge you to support this bill. Very, very important for students. Thank you.
Karen French, the University of California, in support of this measure. Thank you.
I'm Greg Yamamoto. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at Sacramento State, and I'm here today representing the California Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators in California, and we urge you to vote yes on this bill.
Good afternoon. I'm Roberto Torres, Vice President of Legislative Affairs for the California State Student Association. Thanking Paul Fong for taking this on. It is a great relief to the students, and we're in full support. Thank you.
Thomas Candelario, California State University, East Bay. I'm here to urge your support on behalf of the students.
Good afternoon. My name is Rylan Gervasi. I'm the Financial Aid Officer for CSSA. I have a powerful student testimony from one of my friends, Valerie Plevny. I was hoping I'd be able to say it, but obviously there's not enough time, so I'll just drop it out for you guys.
I was going to say, get us a copy. We'd be happy to look at it. I'll make copies for each member if you have it. Thank you.
Laura Gonzalez, Sacramento State, representing Associated Students Incorporated, and we support this bill.
Derek Skareka from the California Maritime Academy, the Associated Students, and we urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Michael McGee, Chancellor's Office, Community Colleges, we're in support.
Is there anyone in opposition? Are there any questions for Mr. Fong? Mr. Fong, would you like to close?
I request an aye vote.
That's a great, eloquent close. Obviously, this bill has my complete support. I think the testimony was right on point, and strongly urge an aye vote, and we'll take a motion. We have a motion and a second. We're getting better at that, too. We'll call the roll.
Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye. Block. Block, aye. Cook. Fong.
Aye.
Fong, aye. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Huber. Ma. Ma, aye. Reskin.
The bill is out, our first out today. Mr. Fong, let's go to number 2.
All right.
Wait, how is that out? Oh, and Fong voted, right?
Okay, Mr. Chair and members, this is about AB 1807. It provides job security to part-time faculty in California's community colleges and ensures continuity and stability in our classroom, which translates into greater student success. Specifically, AB 1807 requires community college districts to place names of their part-time faculty on a reemployment preference list. An employee on this list will be provided with the rights of first refusal to a teaching assignment in his or her department. AB 1807 is needed because there has been a growing trend in California that full-time tenured faculty at community colleges are diminishing and being replaced by underpaid part-time faculty. California's 43,000 community college part-time faculty members represent nearly two-thirds of all California community college faculty, teaching 40% of the California community college classes. Though it may be economically attractive, this reliance on part-time faculty to teach a large portion of the classes has resulted in generally unacceptable working conditions for part-time faculty, particularly for those who are committed to and depend on teaching as their primary source of income. In addition, this reliance on part-time faculty is negatively impacting our students as well. Students who do not have instructional consistency do not receive the same benefits as others. For example, continuity of instruction, mentoring, curriculum development, and learning outcomes assessments are all services that part-time faculty struggle to provide for their students. AB 1807 will ensure job stability for part-time faculty members and increase the educational integrity and professionalism of our community colleges. I respectfully request your aye vote.
Thank you. I see 3 witnesses. We'll give you 2 minutes each, but you don't have to use it.
Do you want to start? Go ahead. You're first chair. Thank you very much for having us here, Mr. Portantino. My name is Robert Yoshioka. I'm a member of the executive board of the California Part-Time Faculty Association. And unlike many of my colleagues here today, I'm retired. California's 43,000 plus community college part-time faculty members represent nearly two-thirds of all community college teaching faculty and teach more than 40% of all community college classes. We are paid on average 42 cents on the dollar for teaching similar or comparable classes. As such, the community college's reliance on part-time faculty to teach so many courses represents a regrettable but growing trend in higher education that shows little or no sign of reversal for the foreseeable future. Part-time faculty are expected to provide support for students via largely unpaid office hours and are not compensated for course preparation and are not routinely given even token benefits aside from their meager salaries. Because many of us travel from campus to campus and between districts in order to cobble together a living, we are always working on the fringe of campus life and must often travel to the next teaching assignment, leaving our students without access to their teachers. Is it any wonder that part-timers find themselves having to balance their need to make a modest living with having to struggle to provide their students with continuity of instruction, mentoring, learning course outcomes, and all other services that faculty traditionally provide for their students? Bringing a modicum of job security to the lives of part-timers would go a long way towards integrating part-time faculty in the fabric of campus life on whatever campuses they find themselves teaching. AB 1807 would provide some job security by directing districts to create and maintain a list of part-time faculty by discipline, defined locally, including length of service, satisfactory teaching evaluation, and a list of courses taught, in order to allow department area supervisors to consistently offer part-timers appropriate classes with the right of first refusal before moving down the preference list to the next individual. Creating and maintaining such a list is reasonable since most of the data required is already part of district record keeping. A routine query with the IT departments and a computer run would generate such a list with updates done on a term-by-term basis. Having such lists available in each community college district will give loyal, competent, and hardworking part-time faculty some modest assurances of continuing employment, which will, in turn, help with course scheduling, resulting in students being able to plan their courses of study. This would be a win-win situation for all concerned, for part-time faculty, full-time faculty, supervisors, and college administrators. Minimizing uncertainty in course assignments and thus providing stability in the classroom will translate into greater student success, i.e. higher transfer rates and higher graduation rates. CPFA is proud to ask for a support
wrap
position.
you up.
Done.
Thanks.
You bet.
Mr. Portantino, my name is Dr. Ron Norton Reel, and I am the president of the Community College Association, which is the community college affiliate of the California Teachers Association. We are currently faced with many difficult decisions within higher education. One of the most important decisions directly relates to our students, who turn to us for their educational needs. Our students turn to our faculty to provide consistent, high quality, and professional training. We must ensure that the faculty members who are teaching our 2.9 million students are, in fact, our best educators. Because of the overutilization of part-time faculty members who now teach in most of our colleges 50 or more % of the course offerings, we need to guarantee those who do teach are highly qualified and have the type of credentials and background that our students deserve. In addition to teaching transfer courses, California community colleges are also expected to provide job training. These programs assist the unemployed to become tomorrow's productive members. To accomplish these tasks, community colleges need to be able to draw on a stable force of highly qualified part-time faculty willing and able to heed the call when enrollments warrant. If enacted, AB 1807 would improve employment security for our part-time faculty members. It would provide continuity for our students and maintain a stable workforce for program review, curriculum development, and program modification. California's system of higher education has become dependent on a contingent workforce that's poorly compensated, as you've already heard about, rarely provides student contact with these faculty members during office hours, and too often lacks the basic support, such as health insurance for our faculty members to stay healthy. This legislation does not ask for any additional information to be provided by the districts that they don't currently have available to them. The time has come to end this travesty and give our community college part-time faculty the rights and the benefits that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the California Labor Federation. It's a shame that I'm here in this committee today talking about a corporate America created way to pad the bottom line, that is moving towards temporary part-time work. It's unfortunate that that's in the higher ed system in this state, but it is what it is. I think the first speaker said it perfectly. AB 1807 gives them a modicum of protection so they can be sure to at least get called back first when jobs open up. This is good for them. This is good for the students they teach. It's just a common sense piece of legislation, and we're happy to support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in support? Is there any opposition? Your support? Okay, support. It's Me Too time.
Thank you very much. I'm still Deborah Shanks, and I am still a part-time faculty member. And I didn't tell you, I happen to teach music and humanities. On behalf of, again, for the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges, I support this legislation as a means to promote student success first and by retaining our proven and committed faculty. Thank you.
Dr. Cornelia Alzheimer, still teach accounting at Santa Barbara City College, speaking on behalf of CCCI today. I'm in strong support of AB 1807 because tens of thousands of excellent part-time faculty who you trust to teach our students deserve some kind of job protection. Please vote aye for this measure. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to Me Too. Okay?
Me too.
All right.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Keenan, and I believe everybody deserves these protections as I have them at my 3 colleges. Thank you.
Judith Michaels on behalf of the California Federation of Teachers in support.
That was the perfect. That's the goal.
How to do it.
Linda Sneed, still, as far as I know, employed at CRC in South Sacramento. I just want to echo my colleague who said earlier that she would like everyone to have the protections she has, and I go on record the same and urge your aye vote. Thank you.
John Martin, chairs California Part-Time Faculty Association. I'm also a member of the board of the California College Association, and I urge everyone to support yes on this measure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? We have a question from Ms. Ma.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fong, for taking this on. I've met with the California Part-Time Faculty Association quite a number of times and much needed legislation. I just have a question. I understand in my district in San Francisco, AFT Local 2121 has a great program that is very similar to this bill. And what I remember is San Francisco's program did not cost the state any money or cost additional money to implement the program. So I just want to get a confirmation on record because I see that this bill is going to the Appropriations Committee. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no cost. In fact, Foothill De Anza Community College District, which I served as a trustee, also have a similar type of program, and there's no cost involved.
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Huber?
Hi, Mr. Fong. Thank you so much for trying to address one of the issues that helps to ensure that people have some stability in their careers. I think I certainly value part-time faculty and want to make sure that they have that stability, but I have some concerns about the bill that I'm hoping you might be able to address. It's really on some of the standards in the language. On page 3, between lines 7 and 8, there's an or that I'm a little concerned about. If we do have a part-time faculty, which I know none of the people in this room are, that is having problems with performance, this section says the employee has to receive an evaluation performance that was satisfactory, or the employee has to be in good standing under the terms of the local collective bargaining agreement. And I'm just trying to figure out is there a situation under which somebody would not meet satisfactory standards, but would still be on this list as must have a right of first refusal?
No. They have to meet the satisfactory standard.
So can we do an and there and make that a little bit clearer? Because it just raised a flag to me of just being in good standing if you're not getting satisfactory reviews.
Okay.
And I assume that you can work some of this out. I'm just telling you what some of my concerns are on the bill, because I do want to make sure that we are keeping that quality instruction and not weakening our current existing collective bargaining agreements and not weakening the evaluations that are being provided for our current part-time faculty. So that was one thing I was concerned about. And the other thing I was a little concerned about, I got one opposition letter, and I'll note that that there was no other opposition listed, but I did get one, and it was from the College of the Canyons. And they did raise an argument saying that the current text of the bill requires that, and I think this is different in different community college districts, requires that in art, for example, in an art department, that somebody who may be teaching art history then be given the first right of refusal to teach ceramics or sculpting or oil painting, even though they're not best qualified. And my question is, where's that language that actually prohibits that from happening, so that we know that people are getting a right of first refusal? If you teach English, you've got a right of first refusal to teach English, but not to teach French.
It's in the collective bargaining agreement. The collective bargaining agreement would state what courses would be eligible and which are not, and it would be in the collective bargaining agreement. It's been mentioned many times in this bill that everything is referred to the collective bargaining in each district.
Well, most of what I see in the bill that refers to the collective bargaining agreement is, for example, you have to have taught 6 semesters in order to be on the list, unless the collective bargaining agreement makes it less than that, but not more than that, just less than that. And you have to have had no break in service for more than 24 months, unless the collective bargaining says that the break of service can be greater than that, not less than that, but greater. So it makes exceptions for collective bargaining on changing the threshold set by the state, but only if it's more generous to the part-time faculty. But it doesn't set out when that's negotiated in the collective bargaining agreement. What if that part's not in the collective bargaining agreement and they're not breaking up the art department in as many different categories as should be in order to make that right of first refusal a course that person is actually, I guess, professionally qualified to teach?
Okay, if you look at the Assembly Bill on page 4, paragraph 5, a determination as to the effective and assessment of performance or good standing, course scheduling and assignment priority, a break in service, program needs and reductions, removal from the reemployment preference list and procedures for that removal, consideration for increase in assignment, or any other matters affecting the reemployment preference under this subdivision is subject to local collective bargaining agreements.
Okay.
Can I say something here for just a second? When we were helping to put the language of this bill together, the same kind of concerns came up on the part of a lot of part-time faculty. primarily because they made the same argument. If I teach art history, I can't teach sculpture. If I teach English literature, I don't do subject A. And so what we decided to do was to try and define the criteria and the parameters for teachers in disciplines. And unfortunately, the only thing that we've come up with so far is this whole notion of faculty service area, which runs into a whole nother problem with a lot of people who say, well, that's not a legitimate thing to call it. But until we're able to specify in different terms exactly what we mean, and we mean by that, as you said, a person who teaches French shouldn't be allowed to teach English or Spanish or whatever, or within a department itself, people who teach literature courses and don't teach introductory language or remedial classes should do one or the other, unless they're qualified to do both. And using that designation of faculty service area, or FSA, helps us to get around that idea so that people would not be put in a situation, as an administrator, you think might be put in a situation where they would have to say, well, you're good at this, but you're not good at that. So, but we negotiated this, that you have to do that. And that would, we think, avoid that from happening.
And I think that we need to be very clear that each one of our community colleges, if for our full-timers there is a RIF that takes place, you must go to their faculty service area to look to see what they're qualified to teach. And so there's already a built-in mechanism using these FSAs that ensures that people won't be teaching in service areas where they're not qualified.
Okay. So I hear that you guys are concerned about the issue. I don't think the language is quite yet there on hammering out because I'm also worried about the unintended consequences of that. So if I'm the school administrators, well, for the faculty perspective, it's you get offered a class and you say, no, I'm not really qualified to teach ceramics. I'm an art history teacher. And then you're off the list because you were offered that first right of refusal and you refused. So now you're off the list, but it didn't fit. And then also from the school perspective I think it could actually lead towards cutting departments up and making them smaller departments if it's going to affect the scope of the list. And I just think that might be a long-term unintended consequence if we're not careful about the language saying nothing in this bill is meant to force departments to hire people or give them a first right of refusal outside their area of expertise. But you don't want to get a gray area of, well, you're not expert on that or not. But
I think what I'm hearing is that you guys understand where you're going, and there's not a fundamental disagreement in the concept. No. So perhaps you can figure out a way, respectively, to wordsmith Ms. Huber's concerns.
We'll contact your staff and we'll work those wordings.
It's just a little issue.
No, it's a very important part of it.
No, it's a very.
We want to make this bill workable, so we'd like to work with you on it too.
And on the first point, changing "or" to "and," you're also okay with that as well. Yeah. And so. The recommendation I'm going to make is do pass to appropriations with the understanding that there's going to be, some amendments worked out with Ms. Huber, including "or" to "and." Okay? Is everybody okay with that? All right. Mr. Fong, did you close?
Respectfully request an aye vote.
He's the best closer. With that, I'll take a motion to do pass to appropriations. And again, the understanding is that there will be one specific amendment and one effort to try to work out the other one. We have a motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, aye. Block.
Aye.
Block, aye. Cook. Fong.
Aye.
Fong, aye. Galgiani. Galgiani, aye. Huber.
Aye.
Huber, aye. Ma. Ruskin.
The bill is out.
You got two.
Mr. Furtani. It's okay. You were passionate.
Good stuff, Paul.
Mike, how are you? Doing well. Sure. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to present. I have before you AB 1713, which is a bill that will streamline, reorganize, and yes, even eliminate some reporting requirements for the Community College Chancellor's Office. As we go through these broader issues of reform and looking at being more efficient, I think this is a very timely and appropriate bill. Existing law requires that the Chancellor's Office submit multiple reports to the Governor and the Legislature. But after review, the Chancellor's Office has recommended making some minor, non-controversial changes to these reporting requirements. AB 1713 deletes reports that are no longer needed, moves existing reports to a more efficient timeline, and consolidates 2 reports for better use of the data. Essentially, this bill allows limited staff resources at the Chancellor's Office to be more efficient and to produce legislative reports that help inform the elected state policy decision makers. This reduced workload, production, distribution, and printing costs from the consolidating of these reports would result in some minor general fund savings, but needed general fund savings. AB 1713 currently modifies 8 reports, but we are proposing authors' amendments to only modify 6 reports, I believe in discussion with your staff, Chairman, to address concerns represented by the committee and a member of the Community College District. I have with me Mr. Mike McGee from the Community College Chancellor's Office to also testify. Thank you.
All right, since you got 2, if you guys could be 3 minutes each, that would be great.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. We thank the Assembly Member Furtani for authoring this board-sponsored bill. This bill and the language has been vetted through our system process, and it is, in our view, another measure to try and make things a little more efficient towards our goal of improving our staff resources, which in several years ago had been cut drastically. In looking at these reports, our goal is to hopefully provide better quality and more timely information. We understand through the analysis and the process that there are some questions and concerns, and we support the author and their amendments. Just a couple examples to illustrate the issues we're trying to address is there's an adult data collection report that was put into statute a few years ago. The report was required, the report was submitted, but the statute remains, and it shows up a number of times in legislative inquiries about a report that's due. But the code section actually is expired. There's another report on foster youth that requires us to do a survey, and this was several years ago. We've completed that survey. Some of the statute was changed so that there's no longer a report even in statute, but the language remains, and it comes up in the Legislative Council's database as a report. So what we're trying to do is reduce some of the inquiries from legislative staff, but also provide legislative staff and administration more timely reports, and hopefully a lot better quality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Bonnie Slauson on behalf of the Chief Executive Officers of the California Community Colleges here to express support for AB 1713. As Mr. McGee expressed, we do believe that these technical changes will help to focus some of the very limited resources at the state agency of the Chancellor's Office to work more closely with colleges on technical assistance, student services, and also their regulatory activities. We believe that this efficiencies will help to focus those staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in support?
Efforts. Thank you.
Is there anyone in opposition? Any questions for the author or sponsors or witnesses? Mr. Fartani, thank you for taking the amendments suggested by staff. Appreciate that. One thing came up about 10 minutes before the hearing. The Budget Committee spoke to our staff and raised a question about changing the date of the FTES report, and they want to work with you on that, if you wouldn't mind working with the Budget Committee. They expect to, again, 10 minutes before the hearing, they expressed a concern about changing the date. So if you guys could just work that out with the Budget Committee.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it would help it on its way to have the Budget Committee's blessing. No other comments? With that, I'll take a motion to pass as amended, I believe, to the Appropriations Committee. Motion and a second. We'll call the roll.
Portantino.
Aye.
Portantino, I. Black. Black, I. Cook. Fong.
Aye.
Fong, I. Galgiani. Galgiani, I. Huber.
Aye.
Huber, I. Ma. Ruskin. Ruskin, I.
Bill is out.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Chair. Thank you, committee members.
And we've got some bills on call. We could go through them. We're going to get Mr. Cook, or we're going to lift the calls, or you want to have him here for the lifting the call? Okay, and then he can add on. All right, we can do that. We can lift the calls.
AB 1691. Cook.
That's item number 1, right?
Yeah. Fong. Fong, I. Huber.
Aye.
Huber, I. Ruskin.
Which one? Item number 1.
Ruskin, I.
We're doing these in order.
AB 1703. Cook. Fong. Fong, I. Huber.
Aye.
Huber, I. Ruskin. Ruskin, I.
Item 3 is not on call, right?
No, it's not.
Okay, item 4 is not on call. Item 5 is not on call, right?
Yeah.
You want? Does anybody want to add on? Which one was it?
AB 1761.
So item 4, does anybody want to add on?
Yes, please.
Ms. Hubers and
Aye.
Huber, I. Ruskin. Ruskin, I. 1807.
Item 5.
4, 5. Ruskin. Oh. Ruskin, I.
It's item 5.
I think I'm already on that one, right?
Way.
Is everyone else on? Okay. And then we're going to go to item 6.
ACR 138. Fong. Fong, I. Huber.
Aye.
Huber, I. Ruskin. Ruskin, I.
Okay, that's good. So the calls are all done, but we have some folk. Mr. Cook, I think, needs to add on. Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.